All right, so today we're diving deep into trekking gear in Nepal.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, what to buy when you get there, what to make sure you bring from
The
home.
essentials.
Yeah, and the stuff you can probably just leave behind, to pack light, to
Yeah.
make sure our listeners are totally prepped for their trek.
Awesome.
So all of our insights today come from David Ways.
Oh, great source.
Yeah, he's a guidebook author.
Okay.
He also founded The Longest Way Home,
I've heard of that, yeah.
which basically means he knows his stuff when it comes to Nepal and all things trekking.
Absolutely.
He's got a ton of blog posts and
Oh,
articles,
nice.
specifically on the, Nepali gear scene. So let's start with, Kathmandu and Pokhara.
Yeah.
These are like trekking gear central.
They are. He actually emphasizes that these are the places to get your gear.
It's like a shopper's paradise for trekkers.
He talks about streets just flooded with shops, with everything from like name brands to, how do we say it, like interesting alternatives.
The creatively inspired versions.
Yeah, yeah. Nepali-made copies, some imported stuff. You can find basically anything you can imagine.
So with all that variety out there, how do we know, like, what's worth spending our money on?
Right. That's where David's advice really comes in handy.
Yeah.
He says, like, stay away from those big, shiny branded stores that, like, try to mimic the big names.
Cool.
Like, your North Face, your Columbia.
That's tempting, though, right?
They do. They totally do. But he says the quality often isn't there.
Okay.
And you'll end up paying more than you would back home.
So buyer beware.
Yeah. He actually suggests looking for those like smaller, locally owned Nepali shops.
Oh, nice. Supporting local business.
Exactly. Exactly. And he mentions a specific place called Up to Date Trekking Store
Okay.
in Kathmandu. The owner is Shiva. Apparently he's super honest, so you're getting genuine advice there.
That's like having your own personal trekking guru.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay, let's talk jackets because, well, Nepal can get chilly.
Right. And actually figuring out jackets in Nepal can be kind of confusing. He actually breaks down like the local lingo.
Oh, right.
So you've got summit jackets. Those are like the big puffy ones for really cold weather. Wind cheaters, which are more versatile, like everyday wear. And then rainproof jackets, which are obviously for keeping dry.
So three very distinct categories.
Mm-hmm.
What should we, prioritize?
Well, if you're looking for an all-around good jacket and maybe on a budget, he says the wind cheaters in Nepal are a steal.
Okay.
They're really good quality, and they're really cheap. He even calls them all-rounders.
That makes sense with Nepal's, varied weather, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So casual treks, everyday use, Nepali wind cheater.
Perfect.
But what about those summit jackets?
The summit jackets are a different story. They're an investment.
Yeah.
And the quality in Nepal can be all over the place.
Really?
Yeah. He says you really have to check the filling. Some use down, which is obviously super warm, but it needs special care, especially when you're washing it. Others use synthetic filling, which might not be as warm, but it is cheaper.
So if you're tackling really intense high altitude treks or going in winter, probably better to invest in a really high quality one back home.
Exactly, where you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
But he says if you're just doing a single trek and you need a summit jacket, Nepal's got decent options. Just, look carefully at the details.
Check the labels.
Exactly.
Okay, summit jackets. Know what you need. Check the details. Now let's move on to something a little more down to earth.
Okay.
Trekking trousers, or as they call them in Nepal, pants.
Pants.
Pants. So what are we looking at there?
So he breaks down trekking trousers into three main types. You've got lined, you've got windproof, and then you've got lightweight. So lined are obviously a nice warm hug for your legs, good for cold mornings, high altitudes.
Yeah.
Windproof, made of that tougher material, good for those windy trails.
Exposed trails.
Yeah, yeah. And then lightweight, perfect for those warmer days. And a lot of them have that added bonus of zipping off into shorts.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can kind of adapt as you go.
Multifunctional.
Exactly.
How do you know which one to go for, though?
David emphasizes trying them on and breaking them in before you hit the trails.
Yeah.
Don't want to be stuck with uncomfortable pants miles from anywhere.
No chafing souvenirs.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk T-shirts and shirts, because you're going to want something comfy under all that.
Right. He says synthetic T-shirts are really popular because they're light, easy to wash, quick drying.
Perfect for trekking.
Yeah.
Are there any downsides, though?
Well, he does mention that sometimes the synthetic fabrics, they can kind of hang on to odors.
Ah, okay.
Even after you wash them. So it's a bit of a trade-off. It's convenience versus maybe a bit of a smell.
Okay, so maybe pack a couple extra.
Yeah.
What about trekking shirts?
He says The trekking shirts you find in Nepal aren't top of the line, but they're decent for the price.
Practical.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, and base layers. Are those similar to, like, the synthetic t-shirt?
Yeah, he basically lumps them in together, same kind of fabric and function.
Okay, now get ready for this, because next up is what David calls the best BY in Nepal.
All right.
Fleeces.
Fleeces, yeah.
Tell me everything.
He raves about them. He says they're cheap, they're warm, they're perfect for layering.
That's like a trekker's dream.
It is. He mentions 3 main types. You got heavy fleeces for max warmth,
Okay.
light fleeces for a bit of warmth without the bulk,
Yeah.
and my personal favorite, reversible fleeces.
Okay, reversible why?
He says, spills happen.
On the trail, yeah.
Exactly, and being able to just flip that fleece inside out can be a lifesaver, especially when you're miles from, a washing machine.
Brilliant. I
Yeah.
never would thought of that. Okay, so we've got fleeces, must buy in Nepal.
Yep.
What about sleeping bags?
Okay, sleeping bags, here's where it gets a little tricky.
Okay.
David's very honest. He says all the sleeping bags you find in Nepal are fake.
Really? Even the ones that, like, look all fancy and high-tech?
Yes, all of them. He says they might look the part, but they're coming from China, and the warmth ratings, forget about it.
So meaning...
Meaning, if you're looking for a super high-tech, expedition-grade sleeping bag, bring your own from home.
Okay.
But he says they'll do the job for a regular trek, especially if you're sitting in tea houses.
Where you have blankets and things?
Exactly. He does mention that down sleeping bags, they tend to shed feathers after a while.
Oh. Yeah.
Synthetics might not be as warm, but they last a bit longer.
Okay, so average trekker, Nepali sleeping bag's probably fine.
Yeah.
Extreme treks. Or if you need that specific warmth rating, bring your own.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Now, something to make those tea houses stays a little bit more hygienic.
Okay.
Sleeping bag liners.
Yes. He highly recommends these, especially because you never know how clean those tea house blankets are going to be.
Yeah, good point. So what kind of liners are we talking about?
He mentions silk being the most luxurious and hygienic, but again, most of the silk ones in Nepal aren't really silk.
Okay.
Then you got nylon, which is like cheaper and more durable.
Yeah.
And then cotton, which is less practical because it's heavier and takes longer to dry.
So silk for luxury, nylon for practicality, skip the cotton.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
Water bottles, pretty crucial for trekking.
right. Got to stay hydrated. He says the water bottles in Nepal have come a long way. You can find a ton of leak-proof options now.
Thank goodness for that.
I know, right? Big improvement. But he does say that the BPA-free label, might be a little questionable on some.
So if that's like a top concern, better safe than sorry. Bring your own.
Yeah.
Okay. What about trekking poles? Good to get those in Nepal.
He says the traditional trekking poles, those are a good, cheap option.
Okay.
Those fancy spring suspension ones.
Yeah.
Pricier, and they don't seem to last as long.
So stick with the classics. Simple and effective.
Exactly.
Okay. Hats and gloves to keep those heads and hands warm.
He says there's a good variety of hats, although be warned, he says the wide-brimmed ones tend to run small.
Oh.
For winter treks, he highly recommends those wool hats with the ear flaps.
Oh, yeah. Love those.
Makes you look like a proper mountaineer.
Exactly. What about gloves?
You'll find a good selection of gloves, so you're covered there.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Now, I'm curious about backpacks, because obviously those are crucial.
Mhm.
What's the backpack situation like?
So backpacks have actually improved in quality over the years. You'll find a lot of them have much better stitching, more durable materials. He even talks about the air panel designs becoming more popular.
Air panels.
Yeah, they're those mesh panels built into the back to let more air flow through.
Oh, to keep your back cool and dry.
Exactly.
Smart.
Yeah, really useful for those long, sweaty treks.
But there's a but coming, isn't
There
there?
is.
Okay.
Again, a lot of these high-tech backpacks, not quite authentic.
Right. Okay.
And he points out that the inside is often much smaller than the stated liter capacity.
So it's like a backpack optical illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks bigger on the outside than it is on the inside.
Totally. So double check those dimensions.
Okay, so measure twice, buy once.
Yeah, and don't be fooled by the liter capacity.
Great advice. All right, so we've talked about what to buy in Nepal. What are the things we should absolutely bring from home? The non-negotiables.
Okay, number 1, straight from David. Your trekking boots or shoes.
Okay.
He's very clear on this. The quality of trekking footwear in Nepal, not good.
Even if I see, like, a name brand tempting in a shop.
Don't do it. He's heard so many horror stories. Soles falling apart, no insulation, not waterproof.
That's a recipe for disaster, especially when you're relying on those boots. like on tough terrain.
Yeah, this is one where you really need to trust his expertise. He says bad boots can ruin your whole trip.
Okay. Message received.
Yeah.
Bring my trusted broken-in boots from home. What else should I prioritize?
Camping gear is another tricky one. You can find it, but the quality is unpredictable. He actually suggests renting might be a better option.
Okay, so if you're doing the tea house trek, you're probably fine.
Yeah.
But if you're going off the grid, rent.
Yeah, especially if it's a short trek or you're not super experienced with camping.
Got it. What about sunglasses? Are those worth buying in Nepal?
Sunglasses, he's pretty straightforward on this. All fake.
Wow, okay.
He's like, protect your eyes, get a good pair with proper UV protection back home.
No snazzy shades from the Nepali market then.
Nope.
Okay, what about those portable solar chargers?
He actually advises against buying those in Nepal.
Really?
Yeah, he says they're overpriced and they don't last. So if you need one, bring a good one from home.
Okay. Last but not least, batteries. Should we be worried about those?
Yes. Battery quality in Nepal, notoriously bad.
Okay.
Bring enough from home for all your electronics.
All right, stock up on those double A's. Don't want to be stuck in the Himalayas with a dead headlamp.
Exactly. And remember, if you need more info on any of this stuff, David's guidebooks, they have really thorough packing lists, price guidelines, even shop recommendations.
Like having your own personal trekking expert in your pocket. So we've talked about what to buy in Nepal, what to bring from home, all those insider tips. Anything else to be aware of?
He does mention a few things you can probably skip, or at least think twice about packing.
Okay, like,
Sleeping mats, for one.
really?
Yeah, he says they're widely available, but they're usually super thin.
Oh, okay.
And most tea houses have mattresses anyway. He suggests maybe buying some cheap foam at a local market if you really need extra padding.
So not a top priority.
Not really.
Okay. Anything else on the reconsider list?
Sterapins.
Oh, those UV water purifiers.
Yeah, they're available, but they can be expensive.
Okay.
And remember those unreliable batteries?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, those apply to sterapins too.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, factor in the cost, the hassle of bad batteries,
Yeah.
and bring some backup purification tablets just in case.
Always good to have a plan B. Especially for something as crucial as water.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else?
This one might surprise you. Chocolate.
What's wrong with chocolate?
Nothing wrong with it inherently, but he says it's really expensive in Nepal
Oh, okay.
and often full of artificial ingredients.
So if you're a chocoholic, pack your own stash.
Pretty much.
Alongside the trusty boots. So we've got what to buy, what to bring, and even what to reconsider.
Yep.
Any final thoughts before we move on?
Well, he does have some advice on the whole rent versus buy dilemma.
Oh, yeah. Classic question. What's his take?
He generally recommends buying clothes in Nepal.
Okay.
Mostly because laundry services can be a little,
Unpredictable.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to be stuck with dirty clothes. Summit jackets, he says, might be the exception. You could rent those, especially if it's a short trek.
Yeah.
And for camping gear, renting can be good if you're, again, doing a shorter trek or you're not so experienced with camping.
So weigh your needs, your budget, and like the length of your trek.
Yeah.
Great advice. All right. I'm feeling so much more prepared for my Nepal gear shopping spree now.
Me too. Now that we've got like the basics down,
Hmm.
I'm curious about like what's new in the world of Nepali trekking gear.
Hmm.
Like, has David mentioned any cool new innovations or trends or anything like that?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
It seems like the outdoor gear industry is always coming up with something new and exciting.
Always.
So what's he observed on the Nepali gear front?
So he's actually pretty upfront about the fact that like there haven't been any like massive groundbreaking innovations.
Hover boots or self-inflating tents just yet.
Not quite, but he does point out that some things have definitely gotten better, in terms of quality and design.
Well, that's good to hear. It's those little improvements that can make a big difference when you're out on the trail.
Totally. And one area where he's seen a big improvement is in trekking bags and backpacks.
Okay.
He says the overall quality has gone up, better stitching, more durable materials. Even the air panel designs are becoming more popular.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about those earlier, those mesh panels to help keep your bag cool and dry.
Exactly. Such a smart design.
Yeah.
But as with many things in the Nepali gear market, there's a catch.
Uh-oh, I sense a but coming.
There is. He says that a lot of these, like, seemingly high-tech backpacks are still, not quite authentic.
Ah, yes, the ever-present, not quite genuine factor. What else should we be aware of when it comes to backpacks?
He says one of the biggest issues is that the inside is often way smaller than like what the liter capacity says.
Oh, so you think you're getting like a spacious 50-liter pack,
Right.
but it might only hold 40 liters worth of gear.
Yeah, it's like a backpack bait and switch.
It looks bigger on the outside than it is on the inside.
Exactly. So definitely double check those dimensions before you commit.
Got to measure twice, buy once, and don't be fooled by those misleading liter capacity.
Exactly.
Again, you mentioned that David had observed some improvements in a couple other gear items.
Yes, he talked about stair pins and water bottles. Remember stair pins?
Yep. The UV water purifiers.
Yeah, those handy little gadgets that zap all the microbes. Well, he says they're becoming more widely available, but you'll probably pay a premium for them compared to back home.
So convenience comes at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
What about those battery issues we talked about? Are those still a concern with Sterapins?
Unfortunately, yes, they still need batteries, and, unreliable batteries in Nepal can be a real pain.
Yeah.
So his advice remains the same factor in those potential battery woes, and maybe bring backup purification tablets just in case.
Always good to have a plan B, especially when it comes to something as essential as water. Now, what about water bottles? We were talking about those leak-proof options becoming more readily available, and any other updates on that front?
He says the leak-proof bottles are definitely a positive development, but he's still a bit iffy about the BPA-free claims on some of them.
Mm.
So if avoiding BPA is a priority for you, bringing your own water bottle from home is probably the safest bet.
It's like trust but verify, especially when it comes to something you're putting in your body. This deep dive has been so informative. I feel like I'm getting a real insider's perspective on the Nepali gear scene. Any other pearls of wisdom from David before we wrap things up?
Well, he makes a really good point about packing light.
Okay.
He's seen so many trekkers show up just weighed down with way too much stuff.
Yeah, it's that just-in-case mentality.
Yeah, right.
But when you're trekking for days, every ounce counts.
Totally.
Yeah.
So he's like, pack smart, prioritize the essentials, embrace the simplicity of the experience.
I love that it's a good reminder that trekking is about connecting with nature, challenging yourself, not about hauling around a mountain of gear. And if you are feeling overwhelmed or need more specific guidance, remember that David's guidebooks offer really detailed packing lists, price guidelines, and even shop recommendations.
Yeah, they're such a good resource.
So we've got the gear, we've got the shopping tips,
Yeah.
we've got some packing philosophy. What else do you think our listeners should keep in mind?
Well, he does emphasize that Kathmandu and Pokhara are still the best places to find gear. He says that pricing has actually become pretty similar between the two cities.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, you don't have to strategize about which city has the best deals.
Exactly.
He does mention that Kathmandu might have a slightly wider variety, particularly for camping gear, but overall both cities are great for trekkers.
Got it. And remember those branded stores we were talking about, the ones with the iffy quality and the high prices? Did David have any recommendations for where to shop instead?
Yes, he specifically recommends those locally owned Nepali shops.
Okay.
He mentioned a place called Up to Date Trekking Store in Kathmandu,
Okay.
run by a guy named Shiva, who's known for being super honest and helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic. Like having your own personal
Yeah.
trekking gear guru.
Right.
I love it. So we've got our shopping destinations, sorted our packing lists in progress, and a wealth of knowledge about the Nepali gear scene.
Yeah.
Anything else our listeners should keep in mind?
One thing he really emphasizes is being respectful of the local culture and customs while you're shopping for gear.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, he encourages trekkers to be mindful of their interactions with shop owners and to avoid haggling too aggressively.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement of finding a good deal. But it's important to remember that we're guests in Nepal.
Exactly.
You should treat people with respect.
A little courtesy goes a long way.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, you've mentioned David's guidebooks a few times now. Can you tell us a little bit more about them and why they're so valuable for trekkers?
They're basically like having a personal trekking expert by your side,
Okay.
packed with information like trail descriptions, maps, accommodation options, and of course, all the gear recommendations.
Sounds like an indispensable resource.
Totally. And he's got guidebooks for pretty much every popular trekking route, so you're bound to find one that suits your needs.
Fantastic. And if our listeners want even more information about specific gear, they can always check out those maps and reviews on Trekker Gear stores, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a great point. There's tons of info out there.
It's all about empowering yourself with knowledge. So with all of this newfound wisdom about Nepali trekking gear, I'm feeling super excited for our listener to embark on their adventure. Any parting words of encouragement?
Pack light trek with respect. and enjoy those breathtaking Himalayan views.
Love it. And if you want to delve even deeper into the world of Nepali trekking, don't forget to check out David's guidebooks. They are a treasure trove of information.
Happy trekking.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have.
All those bustling markets in Kathmandu,
Mm-hmm.
those buyer beware branded shops,
Yeah, gotta watch out for those.
and all the gear.
All the gear.
Those sneaky backpacks with the, what was it, the optical illusion thing?
Oh, yeah. The liter capacity, always smaller on the inside.
Exactly. But it's easy to get caught up in all those details.
It is.
You know, the gear, the brands.
Mm-hmm.
But we should remember why we're even talking about this stuff.
Right, the bigger picture.
Yeah. It's not just about having the fanciest gadgets or, like, looking like a pro.
It's about the experience.
Exactly. It's about, getting ourselves ready to experience all the amazing things Nepal has to offer.
The beauty, the adventure.
All of it. And I think what we've heard from David really, highlights that balance.
Yeah, between being practical, but also, remembering the passion.
Yeah, he wants us to be prepared, but also to, embrace the simplicity of trekking.
Mm-hmm.
It's about packing light
Respecting the culture, the environment.
and really, immersing yourself in those incredible Himalayan landscapes.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So with all that in mind, what's the one thing you're most excited to shop for in Kathmandu?
Ooh, good question.
Is it that cozy fleece? Maybe some versatile trekking trousers?
Or those leak-proof water bottles?
Yeah. Share your thoughts with us.
We want to hear what's at the top of your gear wish list.
And of course, if you want to, delve deeper into all things Nepali trekking.
David's guidebooks are the place to go.
Yes, full of all the details.
Packing lists, tips, recommendations, you name it.
And don't forget those maps and reviews for Trekker gear stores.
Always a good resource.
It's all about making sure you're prepared and informed. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into trekking gear in Nepal.
It does.
Hope you're feeling inspired and ready for your next adventure.
Happy trekking.
Happy trekking, everyone!